Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hello and welcome to the infamous Golden Toilet Awards. Kaldheim has a ton of new and exciting commanders that have inspired commander players everywhere, but only a select few are being considered for the Golden Toilet Award. Now, unfortunately for the commanders nominated, this is not something you want to win. Though many commanders from the set are inspiring and exciting, these are not. Or at least I should say, they're not inspiring to me, and you know what? That's what matters for this episode. But of course, the winner will still receive the Golden Toilet Trophy. Like the Golden Pig, it is a trophy made of the finest gold from the crafter known as Amazon. The commander will not only keep this trophy, but they will keep the shame that comes with it forever. Now, commanders can be nominated for this award for a multitude of reasons, but we're going to start off with the runners-up first. So, coming in at 10th place for the Golden Toilet Award is Kolvari, God of Kinship / the Ringheart Crest. Kolvari is a 2/4 god that costs 2 green, and she has, as long as you control 3 or more legendary creatures, she gets +4/+2 and has vigilance. By paying 1 in a green and tapping her, you look at the top 6 cards of your library, and you can reveal a legendary creature from among them and put them into your hand, and then you put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. The backside is the Ringheart Crest, a legendary artifact for 1 in a green. When it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type, and you can tap it to add green, but spend this mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type or a legendary creature spell. Now, when Kolvari was first spoiled, I was much more excited about Kolvari. An MDFC god that cares about legendary tribals? Sign me up. The only problem is, literally a few hours later, a better commander for legendary tribal that is all 5 colors was spoiled. So Kolvari shone brightly for a few hours and then was immediately overshadowed. So for that reason, Kolvari makes this list, though don't worry, there are many that are much more deserving of the Golden Toilet Award. So coming in 9th place, we've got Harold. Okay, I'm just going to stop right there. His name is Harold. Yes, I know it's spelled slightly differently, but still, it's basically just Harry. I'm going to call this King of Skemfar Harry. So Harry is a 3/2 elf warrior with menace that costs 1 black-green. When Harry enters the battlefield, you look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal an elf, warrior, or Tyvar card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest of them on your library in a random order. So first off, my apologies to any Harrys or Harolds out there, but a knock against this is definitely the name. I mean, we don't see Greg, Lord of Bredegard, running around, do we? Anyways, what Harry does is very underwhelming and kind of strange too. Harry's an elf warrior, so Harry can get you an elf or a warrior off the top. That makes sense. Oh, or also just Tyvar, cause why not? There's only one Tyvar in the existence of Magic, I should say, so far, but Harry really cares about that one. There are over 400 elves in Magic, and there are over 800 warriors in Magic, and there is one Tyvar. To me, this just seems like one of those Planeswalker deck kind of cards where it's like, I want to make sure you get that Planeswalker that you really want to play with. Because you don't want to play with Harry, you want to play with Tyvar. But now it's time for us to move on to number 8, and coming in at 8th place, we've got Sigrid, God Favored. Now, Wizards really wouldn't be Wizards if they didn't give us at least one mono-white commander that would be up for this award. And boy is Sigrid trying her best to win it. She's a 2/2 human warrior with flash, first strike, protection from god creatures, and she costs 1 white. When she enters the battlefield, you exile up to 1 target attacking or blocking creature until Sigrid leaves the battlefield. Now, before I jump further into this creature, I do want to mention that yes, I know that not every single legendary creature is made for Commander. Some might be made for Standard or made for Draft or whatnot. But just because they're not made for Commander doesn't mean they're immune from this list. I do take that into account though, and that's why Sigrid isn't any higher. Let's just say that Sigrid's going to be lucky if she gets 10 decks on EDH Rec. And actually, out of the over 30 commanders in Kaldheim, there are only 3 that I didn't do a quick take on, and Sigrid is one of them. And that's saying something in itself. And I probably should have mentioned this before because Harry was another one, but the next one coming up is also one. So coming in 7th place for the Golden Toilet Awards, and the third commander that I did not do a quick take on, it's Inga Runeyes. Inga is a 3/3 human wizard that costs 3 and a blue. When she enters the battlefield, you scry 3, and when she dies, you draw 3 cards if 3 or more creatures die this turn. Now, scrying isn't card advantage, but it is card selection, so she can help you a lot with card selection. Also, she does give you card advantage, but only if pretty much everything just blows up. Now, if Inga was in blue-black or mono-black, there's a lot of things that you can do with this. You could use one of those cards that brings her back when she dies. You could also use a board wipe to wipe the board yourself so that you can draw some cards. But since she's in blue, your board wipes are basically bounce spells, and yeah, you also don't really have too many ways to get her back when she dies. And that commander tax is gonna add up if you're really counting on her dying for your card advantage. So Inga might have rune eyes, but I don't have eyes for Inga. Okay, that was lame, I know. Let's move on. Next up, let's move on to 6th place with Varagoth, Bloodsky Sire. Varagoth is a 2/3 demon rogue with Death Touch that costs 2 and a black. It has Boast, pay 1 and a black, target player searches their library for a card, then shuffles their library and puts that card on top of it. So Varagoth is just one of those commanders that I think has a lot of potential, but it's just not quite there. First off, for me, Boast, especially when it comes to being on a commander, is just a bit too slow and clunky for me. You gotta play your commander, then you gotta wait a turn, then you can attack, and you also gotta pay for that Boast. Oh, then if your commander doesn't survive the attack, then you've got to pay for your commander, and the commander attacks, wait another turn, then attack, and boast again. On top of that, I think this commander could have been a lot more interesting by allowing you to pick the card no matter which player. First off, this will allow you to see your opponent's library so you know what their deck is about. Secondly, you could guarantee that they get what you want them to get. Maybe you could build a mill deck around this where you put a crucial card for their deck on top and then you mill it away. Or you've got a way to steal that card and cast it for yourself. Although you can build this commander in a political direction, the more and more I think about it, just the more and more clunky this commander seems. So again, I think this commander had a lot of potential and it just wasn't quite there, and that's why it made this spot on the list. But next up, coming into 5th place, we've got the incredibly busted Berkey, God of Storytelling / Harnfell, Horn of Bounty. Now, in case you didn't see it, the way that this commander was spoiled was actually pretty funny. There was a mix-up of some sort, and the person that was spoiling it only actually got the backside of the card. And when I saw that side, I was actually really excited for what this commander could be. Harnfell, Horn of Bounty is a legendary artifact that costs 4 and a red, and it says discard a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library, you may play those cards this turn. That's a pretty cool effect. Essentially, you're trading in long-term access to cards to short-term access to more cards. The problem is, the second that I saw the other side of this card, I realized that the backside is never going to see play. Because if Berkey is your commander, you're only going to ever be casting Berkey and never the Horn side. Berkey is a 3/3 god that costs 2 and a red, and she has whenever you cast a spell, add red. Let me say that again. Whenever you cast a spell, add red. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end, and creatures you control can boast twice during each of your turns rather than once. Now, obviously that boast part doesn't matter at all, but turning every single one of your spells into a ritual very much does. There's a lot of incredibly broken things that you can do with this commander, and it's not really going to be that hard. This is the type of commander that when someone's playing this and doesn't know how to pilot it properly, it's going to take a long time. In fact, Berkey might even be more of a solitaire commander than Joyra, and that's saying something. But the reason that Berkey might be finishing this high in this list might just be because of the letdown of seeing the Horn side first and being excited about it, and then Berkey shows up and you're like, yeah, that's never going to be played. But now it's time for us to move on and move to number 4 with Valkyrie, God of Lies / Tybalt, Cosmic Imposter. And speaking of an MDFC commander with one side that's probably not going to be played, let's go through Valkyrie, God of Lies. Valkyrie is a 2/1 god for 1 and a black, and when it enters the battlefield, each opponent reveals their hand. For each opponent, we exile a creature card they reveal this way until Valkyrie leaves the battlefield. And then by paying X, we choose a creature card, exile with Valkyrie with converted mana cost X, and Valkyrie becomes a copy of that card. So that's a decent effect where you can basically temporarily get a creature out of each of your opponent's hands and then make Valkyrie a copy of it, though you do have to pay for that. The problem is that the other side of this commander is much more powerful and it costs 7 mana. So if you put Valkyrie out early and then Valkyrie dies, you've got to pay 9 mana to cast the actual better side. So chances are you're usually not going to be risking that. On the other side is Tybalt, Cosmic Imposter, who starts off with 5 loyalty and costs 5 black-red. When he enters the battlefield, you get an emblem with. You may play cards, exile with Tybalt, Cosmic Imposter, may spend mana as though we're mana of any color to cast those spells. The +2 is to exile the top card of each player's library, the -3 is to exile target artifact or creature, and the -8 is to exile all cards from all graveyards and add red, red, red. Now, especially with these MDFC commanders, I should have mentioned this first. Obviously, in a format like Standard, both halves can work a lot better together. And with Berkey, that's going to be the case as well. Since you can have 4 copies in your deck, obviously there are going to be times when you've got both sides in play. So these MDFCs that are legendary have less of a legendary downside. But in Commander, unless the Commander can actually help you get it back or whatnot, you're not really getting both sides. So in Commander, it just comes off a little clunkier than it otherwise would. But now let's move on to number 3, and coming in at 3rd place is Sorop Realm Eater. Sorop is a 3/3 wolf that costs 1 black-green, and it has whenever a permanent an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1 counter on Sorop Realm Eater. And then the fun part, at the beginning of your upkeep, if Sorop has 1 or more +1 counters on it, you may remove all of them. If you do, exile each other non-land permanent with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of counters removed this way. So this is a repeatable mass exile board wipe in the command zone. That also can just be a big beater and kill your opponents because it can get huge. And remember that if you're playing against a Rolf and you're not in green and you've only got access to 1 land ramp spell like Wayfarer's Bauble, say goodbye to all of your mana rocks. Yeah, Sorof's gonna be really annoying to play against. But not the most annoying of this set, and that's why it's only at number 3. Coming in at 2nd place is the one and only, no, literally the one and only Praetor on Kaldheim, Vornclex Monstrous Raider. Vornclex is a 6/6 Phyrexian Praetor that has Trample and Haste, and it costs 4 green. If you would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. But of course, that's not all. If an opponent would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, they put half that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead, rounded down. So this doubles up all your lovely counters and halves all of your opponents. And because it's rounded down, most of the time they're not getting any counters. Just by playing this as your commander, you are hosing a ton of decks. Good luck to your opponents trying to get any counters on anything. And you're going to be sitting pretty, doubling up everything. And then you're going to proliferate and double it again, and so on and so forth. Now, if Vornclex just had stopped after that first part, it'd be pretty exciting. But that wouldn't be the Phyrexian Praetor way, and with that second part, it's going to be really salty. Nowhere near salty as that original Vornclex, but salty in its own right. But speaking of salty though, we have finally made it to 1st place. And I also know that there are plenty of players that are really excited about this one, and they might be salty about this pick. So the winner of the Golden Toilet of Kaldheim award goes to Turgrid, God of Salt. Sorry, God of Fright, / Turgrid's Lantern. Now I said this in the quick take, but I'll say it again. It took me a while to actually make a quick take on this commander. Because when she was spoiled, I thought there was no way that the actual translation of the card could be that. But unfortunately, I was wrong. But for this one, let's actually just start this one in reverse and talk about the backside first. Turgrid's Lantern is a legendary artifact that costs 3 and a black, and you can tap it and target player loses 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. Oh, and by the way, you can pay 3 and a black and untap it. So if you've got infinite mana, congratulations, you win. But that's not even the good side. That's just the backup plan. The front side is a 4/5 God with Menace that costs 3 black, and it says this. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put that card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. This is an It That Betrays that costs 7 less mana and does more. Oh yeah, and it's in your command zone too. At least if you're building a Berkey deck, you've got to put some thought in how to make it work and win. With Turgrid, you just throw in any sacrifice spell or discard spell, and congratulations, you've won the game. Vona's Hunger, game over. Smallpox, game over. Dark Deal, game over. Death Cloud, game over. Now there are some commanders that are overpowered, and then there's this. Again, with this commander, it takes absolutely no thought to make an incredibly powerful deck that is going to win. And it's going to win a lot. Now again, I do realize that there are plenty of players out there that are really excited about this card. Just know that like Urza, if this is your commander, you will be targeted from the get-go. And for good reason. Turgrid truly is the God of Salt, and for this and many reasons, she is the winner of the Golden Toilet Award of Kaldheim. A big thank you to all the contestants from this set, and Turgrid, your Golden Toilet is in the mail. And if you haven't seen my most recent episode on the Golden Pig of Kaldheim, make sure you check that one out because that's basically the exact opposite of this. Essentially on that episode, I go over the best commanders from Kaldheim, and one is awarded with the title, the Golden Pig. And again, best does not mean most powerful, just like Golden Toilet does not equal weakest. But anyways, I hope that you enjoyed the Golden Toilet Awards, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.